What's up, La Familia, man? It is The Ladder. Welcome to this episode. It's your boy, your host, Justin Strickland. Today's episode, we're going to talk about one of the superpowers that all leaders need to develop and all great leaders have. But before we get into those superpowers, right, you're going to want to stay around and hear how they work to the good of all humanity. I just want to let you know what you're here and what you can expect. And what we do here at The Ladder is pursue excellence, specifically leadership. We take you through a journey on how to develop as a leader. And we believe one thing, that everybody is a leader in some capacity with some responsibility in some area of their life. And so we want to take you on that journey so that you can be your best self as a leader. Because when you show up as your best self, the world is a better place. And so if you are here for that, if that sounds like something that is intriguing, go ahead and subscribe. All of our videos are like that. Our shorts, our long form. I bring dope leaders on for conversations about leadership that really are edifying. And we do it all for the low, for the free. And so go ahead and like the video and share it with your uncle who's been a terrible leader his whole life. Just let him know, hey, Unc, I want you to be better. And go ahead and send it to him, okay? Now, getting to today's episode, what is the best superpower a leader can have? It is asking great questions. Great leaders, the number one superpower they can have is asking great questions of themselves, of others, and of the system, right? Whatever that system is. Great leaders are able to, with simple questions, push boundaries, grab information, understand processes, and really get to the heart of people, systems, and change with questions. And we've seen this throughout history. I'm going to go through a couple of the greatest questions that I've seen from two great leaders. And then I'm going to jump into the 5 questions that all leaders should be asking consistently, repeatedly, of themselves and of others, okay? First, I want to talk about just this simple question. I had this epiphany the other day, as I often do. Mostly, I usually forget my epiphany, but this one I remembered, okay? I had asked some of the kids in my youth group, how are you, right? Like, we were talking youth group. I said, how are you? And they all told me about school. And I was like, that's interesting because I didn't ask you about school, right? I asked, how are you doing? But in their minds, right? And we do this as adults, but in their minds, they heard how is school because they think school determines how they're doing, right? And I get that school is a big piece of it, but it's not all that they're doing. It's not, they have families, they have hobbies. Some of them play sports. Some of them, they're Christians, like they love the Lord. Some of them are working. Like there's a lot more going on in their life than just school, but they compartmentalize their value to school. So if they're doing good in school, then they are doing good. If they're not doing good in school, then they're not doing good. And like I said, I think school can impact the rest of your life, but it shouldn't be the only thing that when someone asks you how you're doing, it shouldn't be the only thing that you think about. And as adults, what we do is somebody's like, man, how are you doing? We think about work, we think about family. That's it. Especially like men, how are you doing? Well, job got me working, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And man, me and the wife doing all right, man. We doing good. And I'm like, yeah, man, but how are you doing? You tell me how your job is doing. You tell me how your wife is doing. How are you doing? And so as leaders, I think we can ask this question and we can deprogram people, deconstruct people to let them know, like, no, I'm really asking about you. So when I say, how are you doing? I want to hear, hey, man, I've been experiencing joy in my life. There's been some things that I've been doing and some experience I've had that got me in a great place. Or I'm not doing so great, man. I wish that I had more purpose. I wish I had a little bit more time. Like, these are real answers to that question. And as leaders, those answers are so much more valuable to us than how's work, right? Or how are the kids? And I'm not saying we don't care about your job, we don't care about them kids. But what I am saying is, I don't want you to compartmentalize your life. I want you to realize that every aspect of your life has value and can impact your state or your state of being, right? And so I want you to just spend time asking yourself this question, right? Because you really got to practice with yourself. asking yourself this question so that you get practice on answering it in a way that really embodies your complete being, your complete self. Journaling is a great way to do that. In the morning, ask yourself, how am I doing? Right? And just write it down or use your notes on your phone. But like spend time practicing melding your life in a way that is more than just these different boxes, right? Because we really don't live in boxes, and we try to, but the issue is the reason why we can't live in boxes is everything bleeds over, right? When you're having an amazing time at home, work seems a lot easier, right? When you are having, of my athletes, when you cooking on the court, school seems a lot easier, doesn't it? Like when you have a great game, the next day of school feels like a breeze. And so we know that that's true, but when people ask us how we're doing, we go right back into those boxes because it's easier way to describe your life. But I don't want you to do the easy thing. We don't do the easy thing here at the Hope Institute. We do hard things, and we do hard things well. And so I want you to spend time practicing so that when you ask somebody, hey, how are you? And they start rambling off about work or the kids, you can bring them back and be like, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, how are you doing really? Right? And so pause. That's one thing that when I read the Gospels and I'm studying Jesus, one thing that I feel like he did better than any other leader is, man, he had this pause button that no matter where he was going, no matter what his plans were for that day, if he felt like someone needed his time and it was a good use, he would pause. He would just pause his day and sit with that person and ask them questions and answer their questions. And he does this repeatedly throughout the gospel. And I think it's so interesting because usually when he does it, they don't name who he's doing it with. And I think the reason they don't name who he's doing it with is because he's not pausing because this person is important. He's not pausing because this person is a celebrity or it can give him extra clout. He's pausing because he sees value in that interaction. And so as leaders, we have to see value in all those interactions, and people will really appreciate the fact that we see value in them answering that question properly. All right, 2 great questions from 2 great leaders, and then I'm jumping into the 5 questions that all leaders should ask. So I hope you're still rocking with me, and we got some good stuff still rolling. So first question. I've always thought this question is like the most overhyped question. But when I thought about what it actually did and how it shaped the way a whole generation thought, I'm like, actually, that's one of the greatest questions ever. And so John F. Kennedy Jr., State of the Union, he's getting ready to go to war. And a lot of people are like, man, don't go to war, whoop-de-whoop. And he's like, man, you know what? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, before I started getting ready for this, I'm like, that question's cheesy. But then I thought, I'm like, but what happened is a whole generation of people begin to ask, it's not about me. What can I do for my job or for my country or for my family? What can I do? And it became this generation. They're called the lost generation because they valued what they could do for other people much more than what they could get for themselves, which why their kids are the opposite, right? Their kids became the opposite and they are very selfish. But that generation, the adults that question was asked to, they became one of the most selfless generations in American history. And I feel like the reason that question is so powerful is it poses a paradigm shift. And he wasn't the only leader asking a question like that at the time. But with all the other questions combined, what happened is it shifted the paradigm from the people, because you got to remember, their parents went through the Great Depression, right? And so their parents were about like hoarding, and not hoarding in a bad way, but like resources are limited. How can we make things stretch? How can we use things for multiple things? We don't throw stuff away. We recycle within our house. All of those things. And so this generation is growing up, and they're becoming more selfish. And so the leaders are pushing back on that and saying, hey, it's not about you. What can you do? Right? And that question shaped and shifted a generation in a way that really helped this country become what it is today. Right? When you have millions of people putting the country first, putting the company first, what happens is there is an influx of overflow for the country, for the company, that the people don't even expect to experience. And so it brings in a level of affluence to the country and to the companies, and they're still reaping those benefits, right? Another question that a leader from the same time period asked, and it was Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he asked this question. He said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And so you put those two together, right? And what you get is a sense of the greatest leaders in the country saying, it's not about you. It's not about you. What can you do for somebody else? How can you help the fellow man? How can you help your fellow woman? How can you look out for the next generation? And when you see the way that those people live, not only the leaders, but the people that the leaders were talking to, you see them answering this question every day with their life. And so I just wanted to kind of extrapolate those from history to show you how powerful questions can be. Because it's not, they made a ton of great speeches. They did a ton of great actions, but it was these questions that helped to shift and to change the way that people thought. And that's what leaders do. That's their job. That's when they're most effective, is when they are encouraging, motivating, spurring on paradigm shift in people for the betterment of the world, okay? All right, let's get into it. I got a little deep, but I hope you like that, man. That's what we do over here at The Ladder, man. We be kicking it. All right, 5 questions. Get your notepad out. Write them down. 5 best questions leaders can ask. Number 1, can you tell me more? I think this is a great question. You got to ask it just like that. Can you tell me more? Right? And the reason that question is so great is it gets people to explain. People get so used to not being valued that they don't ever think that leaders really want to know how they think, right? You get under 1 or 2 bad leaders and you really be like, man, they don't care what I'm thinking, bro. And so when they ask you about something, you be like, man, it don't matter, whatever. Like you become nonchalant, you become complacent, you stop providing value, right? So as a leader, sometimes we have to untrain and retrain our people to be like, no, you're valuable. You're here for a reason. We hired you because we believe you to be valuable. And you have to get them to provide that value. And so if they're doing something, they report on something, asking that question, hey, can you tell me more? Tell me more about that event. Can you tell me more about that ideal? Can you tell me more about that interaction, right? And you'll get more value out of them because you'll understand them better, right? So that's the first question. Can you tell me more? All right. Second question, how can I support you in this? I think this is a great question leaders can ask, because too often we feel like as people, when we're given a task or a project, that we're given it because we're supposed to have all the answers for it. But often that's not why or how that works. We're a part of teams, we're a part of organizations, we're a part of family units that everybody has the same goal. And so in that we're all pursuing the same goal. You might be leading a project, a task, you might be in charge of a vision, but you don't have to do it alone. And so leaders, by asking this, you remind your people that they're not in a silo. They're not in an echo chamber, that they do have help and they do have support. And so when you ask that question, and a lot of leaders don't like asking this question because they feel like it's dangerous because they can add things to their plate. But that is your plate. Your plate is supporting the people who are working with you, like supporting your team. And so you should be looking to add those things to your plate because it reflects back positively on you, because you can impact outcomes more. And that's leaders, that's our job, is to positively impact outcomes. And so asking that question, how can I support you in this? Reminds your people, hey, you're not in this alone, okay? You're not in this alone. Another question you can ask, question 3, what would you do? And I think this question is like a lot of the other questions. It reminds your people, hey, I really want to know what you think. I want to know if you were in this situation, what you would do. And what you realize, one, is a lot of your people will tell you, bro, I don't want to be in that position. I don't know what I would do. I'm cool where I'm at. And that's a good banter anyway, like to have that kind of discussion. But also you got some people who have some great insight. They might not have been at the company that long. They might have been with your team that long. They might not have been working in this position very long, but they might have value that exists outside of their role. And by asking this question, you can get them to impact the areas, impact things that they don't necessarily directly work with or work for. Right. And so anytime you can do that as a leader, extrapolate extra value from your people, you're doing your job. And so asking that question allows them to step into a space where they get to dream or have vision. And those actions, those events are only positive for people. The more people dream and have vision, the better they are, period, as people, right? Because it allows them to believe in hope. And hope is the most powerful thing someone can have, right? That's why that's the name of the company. And so the question, what would you do, allows them to be like, well, what if I was a supervisor? Okay. And they may not have ever thought that before, but we talked about in previous episodes, transitioning leadership is one of the most important things leaders can do. So if you're not asking that question, then you're not giving them opportunities to practice being leaders in that role. And that's practice makes perfect, right? We got to get our 10,000 reps in. Question number 4, who else could help us with this? Now, this is great for organizations or teams that end up compartmentalizing, right? That end up in boxes, in silos. One of the best ways to get collaboration is to have your people think collaboratively. Who else do you think can positively impact this event? Who else do you think could add value to what we're trying to do here, to the vision we're trying to lay here, to the people we're trying to be here, right? Who else, right? So asking that question is a great opportunity to create partnerships, because they might think of somebody they know that's in another company that, hey, if we bring them in, I think they can provide some value here. That's opportunity, right? And so that's a great question to pull people out of their silos and to put them back in the team environments, okay? Especially across different company structures and things like that, right? Last question, number 5. Can you walk me through your thought process on that? So this is a great question during a debrief. You've had an event, you've had a project, and it's finished, and you're looking through it and you're studying it and you're going over the results, asking people in it, hey, so you did this, right? Can you walk me through what you were thinking? And I want you to ask that for good things they did and bad things they did. If you only ask it for bad things, they're not going to want to answer it, okay? So you have to ask for both positive results and negative results, because you want to really push them towards thinking deeply about all of their decisions, right? But you also want to reveal their processes so that they're not lost if you lose somebody, right? And so, because that happens a lot during turnover. When people don't reveal the processes or the steps they took to do things, and you lose them, if that's to retirement, or they've developed out of their role, or they found a new opportunity, or they moved. There's a lot of reasons you can lose someone, right? But you don't want to lose their processes, especially if they were good. And so as leaders, asking, hey, can you walk me through this, is a great one. Another step forward is, can you write that down? I think that is a great way to handle that. Can you write that down and put it in a folder, so that if someone else were to do this project at a different date, they could have a blueprint, a skeleton on what it looks like to do it positively, right? As leaders, that's a great way to go about preserving processes so that your organization doesn't have to keep recreating the wheel. And so those are 5 questions that all leaders can ask and should ask and be asking, because they really impact your organization, your team, in a great and a positive way. I'm going to run through them one more time, and I'm going to get out of here, okay? All right, let's go. Number 1, can you tell me more? Number 2, how can I support you in this? Number 3, what would you do? Number 4, who else do you think can help us with this? And number 5, can you walk me through your thought process on that one? Now, I asked all those questions in a way that made you want to answer them. So as leaders, tone is important, but also the question is important. So hopefully I gave you some tools in your toolbox today so you can go build the amazing building you're trying to build with your team and on your organization and your project. As always, y'all, it's been an honor and privilege. I hope that you enjoy your Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great time with family. And hey, we near episode 50. I can't wait to see y'all there. Until next time, man. Peace.